I play chess kind of a lot. I play a lot of guys like on the iMessage thing on your iPhone. There's a guy I play in Dallas, and I hit him with a triple fork move with my knight and won this morning. And I just got to tell you something. If you know anything about chess, I'm kind of a rock star. So, are any chess people? Raise your hand if you're a chess person. Do I have any chess people? We have, good to know. Wait, keep them up. You? Anybody over here? See, those of you that are raising your hand, you understand what a triple fork is with the knight. I just got to tell you something. Get ready, because this sermon's going to be powerful. Because I am juiced. Now, I do want to welcome you. We do have a holiday crowd this morning. It is Labor Day weekend. Look at you. You're at church. I need this section a little bit more full, so let's all stand to our feet. Let's all stand to our feet. Let's all stand up. And some of you move. Let's see some more people moving right here. Well, you're already in the section line. I appreciate that. Maybe come from the sides. We are going to do an activity this morning, and it is a little bit better when we are a little bit more unified. You can sit down now. Look at you. You're so good at following instructions. I'm so impressed. So I am starting a kind of a mini sermon. Don't worry, Stephen. You don't have to move, dude. You could be a rebel and stay over there if you want. So thank you for that. I'm starting a series of messages. It's kind of a miniature series called Keep the Unity. Keep the unity. And I don't think there's a better way to celebrate unity than by dividing us up. So we're going to do some polling, all right? So here's how polling works. I'm about to say the world is divided up into two groups. You're going to pick which one that you side with. Be very passionate about the camp you choose. Okay, in a minute I'll say stand up to your feet if you support this, whatever. And then I'll ask the question, why have you chosen this lifestyle? Not everybody has to answer, but some of you might want to. And if you do, raise your hands and I'll pick on you. So I believe the world is divided up into two groups of people. Those who on Christmas morning, it is an absolute pack of wild hyenas free-for-all, or those that take turns opening presents. Everybody understand? Everybody with me? And why am I talking about Christmas already? Y'all, it's already September. What in the world? Christmas trees, are they going to be up like next week? I'm sure they will be at Walmart, right? So they already are? That is awesome. I love it. I think it's great. Get your shopping done. Okay, so which one of these groups are you in? If you are a part of the wild, crazy, free-for-all open presents, if that's you, some of you are staring at me like calves looking up at a new gate. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's just a wild free-for-all. If that's you, stand up to your feet. Stand up to your feet, all you wild, crazy, free-for-all people. All right, so this is... a reluctant free-for-all. Y'all are like, okay. It's not peer pressure. I mean, you gotta be proud of it, y'all. So here's my question. Why? Why have you chosen this lifestyle? Not everybody has to answer. Your children will not handle it. They are just out of control on Christmas. Good luck in trying to keep them from doing it. You're just going with the children. A fantastic parenting strategy. Don't worry, I know her. Somebody else. Why have you chosen this lifestyle? Anybody else? Wild, crazy people. Sorry, I was talking over you. Go. It's so much more fun. Yeah, George. And if you know anything about this man, all he cares about is fun. And it's more fun, dadgummit. Why else have you chosen this lifestyle? Anybody else? Yes, go.
This is going to sound bad, but if you don't like the George, then
Never thought about that one. You could just hide your depression amidst all of the joy. Wow. I kind of feel stupid now. It's pretty. You had something to say, go. That's just what the grandchildren do. Both of you guys just go with the children. Fantastic strategy for life. Don't worry, I know her too. Somebody else? Anybody else? Anybody else? Right? It's the most exciting. You bunch of take-turners. Okay. It's a small bunch, but you're a spirited bunch. Y'all can be seated. Those of us that, by the way, I side with the second group, those who take turns opening the joyful Jesus present, stand up to your feet right now. All turn takers. Okay. We're a little bit more orderly as we stand. More structured. Somebody tell me why you've chosen this lifestyle. Go. Go.
oh, sure. So I'm on a budget, so I need to prolong.
See? Stretch it. Stretch it out. I'm on a budget. Stretch it out, Tom.
I love to appreciate what everybody else is getting.
You see? Such a mature, wise response. I want to appreciate what everybody else. Yes, go. Yeah. right? I'm grateful for what I'm getting. The people that are sitting down like, hey, sorry, it's your camp. But, all right, go.
My love language is giving gifts, so I taught my kids to be able to appreciate that.
Yes. Don't you love the forced thank yous? Oh, there's nothing greater. I remember as a kid.
Practice the fake smile, too.
Oh, not even the forced thank you, but the fake smile. That is a good, important part of maturing. That actually is a really good point. But I'll never forget as a kid, tearing into the thing, wanting to play with the toy. Hey, say thank you. Don't enjoy your present. Okay. Hugs. Oh, not her. All right, go. We're going to have to stop here for a second. David, what do you mean you don't put name tags on them? It's your world, dude. We're just trying to live in it, brother. I want to know what your pantry's like. You tear all the labels off. I know what they are. By the way, we have a counseling center. That would be fantastic. See me afterwards. All right, go. Yes. Exactly. We want to know if we got it right. Good answers all. Look how huge this group is, too. Anybody else? Anybody else? The ooze, and hopefully they'll come. That's a lot of expectation. What I always hate on Christmas Day is when the cameras come out right before I'm about to open something, like, oh, this is a lot of pressure. I really hope I like this, whatever it is. Oh, it's great. Okay, you can sit down. You feel the unity in the room? Such unity, the love of Jesus. Let's do one more. The world is divided into two groups of people. Those who at a Chinese restaurant use the chopsticks, and those who go straight for the fork. And look, even if you transition from chopsticks to the fork, at least you start with the chopsticks, all right? Choosing to be culturally relevant in a world of diversity. So if you are a chopstick person, please stand to your feet. All chopstick people, I stand with you. I stand with you. Why, chopstick people, have you chosen this lifestyle? Nobody gets to repeat talk. If you're going to talk, you haven't been able to talk before. Yes, go.
My dad spent a lot of time teaching us how to be a so it's kind of a memory.
You see, family nostalgia run wild. Fantastic. Yes, go. Oh, it's not just a meal. It's adventurous. And you kind of look like an idiot. Anybody? Okay, go. Don't worry, I'm going to tell you. Pete, what did he say? What did he say? He said, I'm Asian, is what he said. I've got a problem with that. Some of you are wondering, where are you going? Asia is a really big continent. I've never understood. People from Jerusalem are also from Asia. Anyway, that's just me, my own thing. Some of you are like, change the subject, Clint. Talk about something else. You have a very airtight case. Somebody else. Chopstick people? Any others? Yes, go. You're a rule follower. When in China, do as the Romans. All right, you may be seated. Those who are fork people at a Chinese restaurant, please stand to your feet. Okay, now I'm really confused about this marriage over here. There's something about this marriage that's just now blown my brain. Fork people, why have you chosen this lifestyle? Go. Yes. No, what I got time for the chopsticks. Somebody else? Yes. Yeah, see, it does take some coordination, right? I'm not that coordinated. Anybody else? Anybody yes? Yeah, I don't want to wear my food. I'd rather just eat it with the thing that works. Anybody else? No, they just want to Oh, yeah, stab it, yeah. All right, fork people, you can sit down here. I want to show you something that we all need. This is a real unifying thing. Look at that. I don't know if you know what that is. Have you ever seen that? That's a real thing. It's called a chort. Now, why haven't I seen this before? And why isn't that at every single Chinese restaurant? You can do both, and no one would really know. And you could say you're doing the chopstick. Chork! We need to start giving these away. This is a new Christmas present. Wild hyenas opening up the chorks. Ready to prepare for disappointment. Polling's always fun. It's always fun to see where you are, see how we are unified or whatever. The joy of Jesus, we're all together. The next few weeks, we're going to do a focus on the concept of unity. Now, I'm not doing a series on unity because we are a church of warring factions. Okay? Some people are like, oh, there must be problems. No, dude, okay, let's just side note, we don't do passive-aggressive sermons in this church. What is a passive-aggressive sermon? Passive-aggressive sermon is when I am preaching a message to one of you because I think you really need to hear it. Yeah, we don't do that, okay? Well, actually, we do. I preach them to myself. I'm always preaching these messages to myself. And I got to tell you, I hope you guys get as much out of these messages as I do, or even half that much. But we don't do passive-aggressive sermons here, okay? If I got a problem with my friend Raymond back there, if I got a big problem with him, I'm not going to like go into the dark recesses of some study somewhere and write up a sermon about him that he really needs to hear. Because my luck, he wouldn't even show up that Sunday. Right? I'm all hot and bothered, look at the crowd. Oh, he's not even here. No, we don't do the passive-aggressive thing. Now, some of you guys feel like I do, and I hear this from you guys all the time. Like after the message, you're like, hey, if you got something to say to my face, say it to my face. No, dude, these are things we all deal with, okay? So the concept of a unified direction is not because there's some problem out there. This is the concept of being spiritually mature. So this is what we're going to be talking about. The concept of how God wants us to live in harmony, in unity. We are together, and this is something important for people. And this is a sermon that these sort of messages need to be less preached to like the church organization and more preached to the people in the church, because everywhere people are you're going to have issues of unity. At school, in your family, in your extended family. You're always going to be dealing with some of these things. So don't take one of these things as, oh, this is what we need to be doing at the church. This is life for every single person. Here's what the Bible says about the concept of unity. Ephesians chapter 4, live a life that's worthy of the calling he has graciously extended to you. Be humble, be gentle, be patient. Tolerate one another in an atmosphere thick with love. Make every effort to keep and preserve the unity the Spirit has already created with peace binding you together. Make how many efforts? How many? Every effort. Wow. Well, raising the bar. We are supposed to tolerate one another in an atmosphere thick with love. Doesn't that sound good to you? No? I'm going to ask that again. Doesn't it sound good to be in an atmosphere thick with love? Well, we as believers in Christ are supposed to set these standards. The concept of unity is God's passion and it's his design. He has structured you for unity, and he wants it for you. Gosh, he wants it for us so bad. And all of this concept helps increase social confidence. Social confidence. Isn't it wonderful to have social confidence where you walk into a room and you feel confident socially? Anybody really socially awkward out there? Sometimes I feel like that we have assembled the most socially awkward people all together in one church called the Waters Church. We have so many, and no one is more socially awkward. I am your leader, and that's me. So many times in social situations, we feel awkward. Remember the lunchroom when you were little? Or maybe high school? You get your food and you look out to the sea of people and you're like, oh, no one here likes me. It's awful. Or forget that. Some of you might have felt like that when you walked into a room, even this room. We can come to some weird conclusions in our brain. No one here likes me. Everybody's looking at me. Everybody's thinking about me. And we can feel socially insecure. Well, the ideas of being unified and following those directives increase social confidence. I don't know about you, but I could use social confidence. But I will tell you this, my friend Mike, nothing kills social confidence faster than when you hear someone say this. Hey, people are talking about you. Do you ever go to a positive place when you hear that? Are you ever like, oh, fantastic. People are talking about me. No, our brains are almost wired to think that's a bad thing. Hey, people are talking about you. People are talking about you. It's just an axe to the center of a socially confident heart and turns it into insecurity. And so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about today, we're going to be covering the concepts of gossip. Gossip is something that every single human being, all time, everywhere, including Adam and Eve, have always struggled with. It doesn't matter how old you get, you will always deal with gossip. Gossip has a tendency to feed off of your humanity. I was talking to my friend Jordan McClinton, and he said something interesting. He said, as humans, we lean towards connection and away from conflict. But gossip makes us feel like we get both. We get to avoid the conflict, and we get to talk about it with somebody else. Nobody gossips because they're evil, wicked, black-hearted people. Nobody sins for those reasons either. The reason we do these things is because it feels like there's life in it. Gossip almost always feels like a good idea when it's presented with it. You have the opportunity to play into it because it feels like there's life there, but there's not life there. There's absolute death. So for us to really understand gossip culture and slander culture and deal with it, we need a case study. So the case study is going to be a man in the Bible named Absalom. Absalom. Everybody say his name, go. Absalom. Absalom is an interesting character in the Bible. He is the son of King David. So he is royalty. He is a prince. And as the son of King David, he had a problem. Here's the problem. Absalom has a sister named Tamar. And Tamar was violated by her brother Amnon. And Absalom is mad about what has happened. And he wants his dad to do something about it. But here's the thing that happens. King David knows about it. He is upset about it, but he doesn't really do anything about it. Certainly not to the satisfaction of Absalom. Remember, King David's the father. You have Absalom the son. You have Tamar the sister and another brother, Amnon. And Absalom knows what Amnon did to Tamar. And Absalom is mad. Dad, why don't you do something about it? And he starts to harbor this anger towards his father. Now, later in the story, Absalom takes justice into his own hands and kills his brother Amnon. Then he flees. He is gone from the country. King David wants him back. But King David can't really have a court with him or an audience with them because of what he did. But he does in this weird way of sort of working the system and manipulating. He gets Absalom back into the city, but he doesn't talk to his own kid. So you have this situation where you have father and son living in the same city, a few miles apart, but they never talk to each other. Do any of you have this going on or know about this going on in any family situations where you got family that may be in the same city, maybe just a few miles away, but you never see them? Nobody? Some of us? It's a weird, awkward thing. This is what's happening in Jerusalem. Well, Absalom wants to see his dad because of a lot of reasons, but the whole time Absalom has got this resentment in him. He is hurt and he is angry. He's getting madder by the day. He kind of works this weird, manipulative way to now finally get an audience with his dad, King David. He goes in there, he lays down on his face before the king. The king raises him up, kisses him, and welcomes him back into his good graces. That is, King David welcomes Absalom back into his good graces. But here's the problem. By this point, it's too late. The resentment has taken hold of Absalom's heart, and he is mad, and he's going to do something about it. Okay, so here's what happens next. We're in the book of 2 Samuel. We're in chapter 15, and here is basically the story of what Absalom does in response to a lot of anger and bitterness that's been building up in him. After this, Absalom acquired a chariot and horses, and he hired 50 men to run ahead of him. Now Absalom made it a practice to rise early, stand beside the road leading into one of Jerusalem's gates. When someone came along who wanted to petition the king, he would ask, "What's your city?" The person would answer, "Your servant is from a certain tribe of Israel." Absalom would say, Absalom would say, "I'm sure your claims are truthful and have merit, but the king has not appointed anybody to hear your case. If only I were appointed the authority in the land, then anyone with petition could come before me, and I would give them justice." When people came to Absalom to show their respects, he would embrace them and kiss them. Absalom did this to everyone who sought justice from the king, and in this way, he made himself the favorite of the people of Israel. Absalom. Quite a crafty young man. He knows exactly what he's doing, and he is basically writing a handbook, a playbook of how to do real divisive gossip and slander. If I was the devil, it's an interesting way to start a sentence. If I was the devil and I wanted the church to stop, I would write a strategy against the church. And what strategy would I write? Gossip and slander. It's a powerful tool against the church. But forget about that for a minute. It's just a powerful tool against anything. Do you deal with gossip and slander at work? Do you deal with gossip and slander in your family, in your extended family, in your neighborhood? This is always something that's happening where people are. And so it's important for us as we are pursuing Spiritual maturity is to understand what the playbook is. So what I did is I've diagrammed this story into 4 steps. So if you showed up this morning wondering how to do gossip and slander, I'm going to teach you how to do gossip and slander. It's straight out of the Absalom handbook. And this is basically the steps. Number 1, he appoints himself into an important role. Okay, now this is a self-appointed role. No one met with Absalom and said, hey, we really need your help. No, he didn't care about anybody. He just knew he had some stuff he wanted to do. And if you remember in the story, he hired 50 people, hired them. He had a big sort of support group. He wanted to make sure that he looked like he had power, and he put himself into a role. It was a self-appointed role of influence. Number 2, he befriends those who have complaints. Gossips always look for complainers. Slanderers always want to have an ear tuned to complainers, and they are very ready to listen to any sort of damaging rumors. So people love to get together and complain. Don't complainers love to hang out with more complainers? Misery just loves to have the company of more misery. Now, I don't know if you know what Far Side comics are. Do you know what Far Side comics are? Let me know what the Far Side is. Parents, raise your kids better. Teach them Far Side comics. They will learn so much about life. I'm about to show you one of my favorite Far Side comics of all time. I think it's hysterical. We'll see if you join in the humor. But I think it's a very good presentation of how complainers like to hang out with complainers. So here's the cartoon. At the bottom, the caption is this: at the international meeting of the Didn't Like Dances with Wolves Society. Okay? So this is the convention of the Didn't Like Dances with Wolves Society. First of all, let's make sure we understand what we're talking about. Have you seen the movie Dances with Wolves? A few of you, okay. Parents, raise your kids well, show them the movie. You gotta have a whole weekend though, it's like 18 hours long. Okay, so here's what the guy on the left is saying. Furthermore, the way they portrayed the cavalry as being insensitive just makes me sick. And then the woman on the right says, and the buffaloes. Those buffaloes weren't really killed. That was all faked. And there's the international meeting of the Didn't Like Dances with Wolves. It's like, what sort of brain draws this cartoon? It's hilarious. But to me, this cartoon sort of has some truth to it, which is why it's funny. Because people who complain really like to get together and complain. What do you think's bad? Oh, you're talking about things that are bad? Can I come? And there's your party. Looks like a blast, doesn't it? So much fun. This is exactly right out of the concepts of the biblical teaching of gossip and slander with Absalom and what he does. He wants to make sure that he's making a personal connection with people who are complaining. And then how does he treat the complainers? He takes personal interest in the complainers. What does he do when he first meets them? He asks them, hey, where are you from? Where are you from? Was he really interested in them personally? Nope. Absalom didn't care. Absalom was very crafty. Now remember what Absalom is trying to do. He's trying to promote himself over his dad, who just happens to be the king. He's mad at his dad. And he's trying to self-promote over them. But these people didn't know that. These people that came into the gate, all they knew was this guy was a prince. And make no mistake, they knew exactly that this guy was a prince. So here they are greeted at the gate by royalty. Gossips always protect their image. They always want to protect how people see them. They always want to say, you can trust me. I care for you. I understand what you're going through as you're trying to deal with this awful, horrible person. I get it. I want to take an interest in you. This attention that Absalom gave them was wild. It says that he embraced them and kissed them. Guys, even in the story, when Absalom gets to have an audience with his dad, what does he do? He goes straight to his face. Well, if that's required of Absalom before the king, you can bet that people facing any sort of royal authority that weren't royal, absolutely the way they would greet him is get on their face. But that's not what Absalom does. Hey, get up. I'm just one of you. I'm just a normal guy. Let me embrace you. Let me kiss you. Let me be with you. I'm one of you. I want to make sure that you know that I identify. Those uppity ups, those royal people, they don't know what it's like to be little old usses. They're all up there in their fancy places. They don't know what it's like to be us, the working man, the normal guy. The next step is that he subtly smears authority and puts himself in the role of the problem solver. So this is the Absalom playbook of how to do gossip and slander. This is right out of the Bible, and it's an excellent thing for us to go through. What we need to understand is this idea, this thing that happens, this happens everywhere. It happens all around you. How does it start? Someone gets hurt. So somebody gets hurt somewhere, okay? And when the person gets hurt, they feel like the other people then have failed them. You ever felt like that? You got hurt, something went wrong, and you immediately, and by the way, this is normal human processing. Grief is a real thing. And one of the stages of grief is to blame people. It's very normal. It's very natural. So when people get hurt, they want to blame somebody. Somebody out there did not pay attention to me. Somebody did not give me the attention that I need. They get bitter about it. That person that's hurting hasn't a good intention. Because remember, gossips, people that are hurt, all these people, they're not evil, black-hearted people. They're just hurting, okay? And so the person that's hurting has a desire to speak to the person that hurt them, but seldom actually get around to that. And so in their hurting, one day they meet somebody who comes off very caring, very compassionate towards them. The caring person usually sets himself up in that role and repeatedly over and over. The complaint is then shared, and then the caring person or the gossip responds with this. He says, "Oh, it doesn't surprise me that you're hurt. You're not the only one that's been hurt by them." Well, at that point, the hurting people, they bite on that hook. They're like, "Really? I'm not." And the gossip comes in. "Oh, you are not the only." There's a lot of people that feel just like you do. There's a lot of people that have been hurt in this way. You're in good company with the miserables. You're in good company with the complainers. The gossip very quickly sets himself up as somebody that really cares about them. I want to care about the needs that you have. We need better people than who's been helping you. We need better people to care about the situation you're going through. I can help you. I can be in your camp. I'm going to be behind you. All these other people have let you down. Believe in me. I will care for you. Does this sound like anything to you? Does it sound like the script of politicians? I mean, this is straight. I mean, all politicians must have read 2 Samuel. They're like, dude, Absalom's got it down. Because here's the sad part of the story. Dude, did Absalom do gossip and slander? And was he then an outcast in the city? What did the end of the story tell you? Absalom did what he did, smeared the authority, did all this fake concern. And what was the result? How did the people in Israel feel about him? Y'all, he was their favorite. Of course a politician would do this. Any politician wants to be the favorite. That's what they want. The politicians are like, man, you can count on the fact that I know what it's like to be you. These other people out here, they don't get it. I'm a politician. Watch me take my tie off and roll up my sleeves. There's a classic politician move, isn't it? I'm going to roll up my sleeves to show you that I can relate because my sleeves are rolled up. Dude, put on a t-shirt and shorts and sandals. What are you doing? That'd be a good way to show up to a debate, wouldn't it? Flip, flop, flip, flop. What's up? What do you dress like that? I'm just trying to show people I'm one of them. I care when all these Thai people don't. This is all Absalom's playbook. Where's the bait? And that little thing I just did, I just walked you through how it works with people when they're hurt and they're looking for something. Where was the bait? The gossip always throws out a bait. What's the bait? The bait is when they say very subtly to the hurting people, hey, you're not the only one. Oh, here we go. Boy, that is luscious. That looks like food. And they bite down on that bait. And all of a sudden when they bite down on the bait, they get hooked and now somebody else is controlling them. Because it's very wonderful for a person to feel like they're not alone in their suffering. And the gossip and slanderers will always throw out bait. And though the gossip shows concern for people, it's never real. It's always out of self-promotion. A gossiper and a slanderer, all they ever want to do is promote themselves. And one thing you can always know about a gossip and a slanderer is be very careful getting close to them, because guess what you'll do to them one day? You will upset them because you're humans, and isn't that what we all do? I mean, at what point in any relationship are you not going to be upset by a person? And I'm sure many of you guys in the room are looking at me like, yeah, that guy's, he's upset me. Yeah, I'm sure I have as a human being. This is sort of what it means to be in relationship. And all this fake concern and all this stuff, it's the whole thing just feels like we're playing in the world of hypocrisy. And it's all the stuff that Jesus stood against. This story of Absalom is a gross story, and Absalom's kind of a jerk. And if you know anything about his story, it doesn't end very well either. He's got a pretty sad life story that ends in a tragedy. And I call him a jerk, but if I'm honest with you, I have absolutely played into this too. I've been a part of this. Either I've played into that strategy or I've been played by that strategy. But this is so depressing. Can we get to some good news? Jesus Christ, he is good news. And Jesus has some really good stuff to say to us about the idea of gossip and slander. And remember, gossip and slander only starts because somebody's got a problem with somebody. Remember, Absalom had a problem with his dad. So here's what Jesus says. Matthew chapter 5, you have got to love the teachings from Jesus. He says in Matthew chapter 5, if you are bringing an offering to God and you remember that your brother is angry at you or holds a grudge against you, then leave your gift before the altar. Go to your brother, repent, and forgive one another. Be reconciled, and then return to the altar to offer your gift to God. May we all just bust out into applause right now. Let's all applaud. This is fantastic advice from Jesus. So we see this fantastic advice from Jesus, but so many of us don't get it. Because we look at that first line, if you're bringing an offering to God and you're thinking, we don't really do that now, do we? The answer is yes. This is a capturing of a worship moment. Worship is also bringing an offering to God. It's an offering of praise. But how awful when we bring an offering of praise to God, but in our heart we can't stand a person in the room. What is Jesus saying? He's like, dude, it's pretty fake when people get together and they're all talking about the goodness of Jesus, but none of them can stand each other. And Jesus is like, that says a pretty bad message to the world. I mean, somebody from the non-church world can wander into church and kind of know some stuff about what's really going on. And all these people are like, oh, it's time to worship. Oh, Jesus, we love you. And it's like, oh, this feels really fake. Because all these people have problems with each other. This advice is excellent. You got a problem with somebody, go to them. Now, can we be honest? Is that kind of hard? Yeah. I mean, if I got a big beef with my friend Kevin, if I just can't stand you, you have really made me mad. It is so much funner to go over here to Jennifer and be like, oh, I got to talk to you about Kevin. Dude, I can't stand that guy. So much teeth and passion in the gossip. And Jesus said, hey, why don't you just go talk to Kevin? Oh, that's a lot harder. Now all of a sudden when I'm face to face with him, I'm like, it's very hard to be like, I can't stand. All the passion sort of goes away. And I'm like, hey, I'm kind of upset. It seems a little bit more peaceful. And how many times does this encounter turn into something completely weird? Because then the response of the person that hurt you looks at you and says, dude, I didn't say that. That wasn't even me. Oh, never mind. How many fights have we gotten in that were completely based on a misunderstanding? It wasn't even real. And yet people are warring with each other and it's all false. Sometimes it's real. But the odds are you're going to have a much better experience when you do what Jesus said. But it's not easy. So he goes on. He gives more of a teaching to us. Matthew 18, Jesus said, hey, this is what you do if one of your brothers or sisters sins against you. Go to him in private. You tell him just what you perceive the wrong to be. If he listens to you, you've won a brother. But sometimes he won't listen. If he doesn't listen, go back, take a friend or two friends with you. Now look, if you know the ending of that teaching, you know that it sort of continues on if it doesn't go well. But you got to understand, you can stop right there because this is the strategy. And what is the strategy about? Unity. And the whole point is for us to win one another over, to be very close to each other and to love one another. Remember, an atmosphere thick with love. So that we never, come over here to the Absalom playbook of gossip and slander and play into it because we feel like there's life in it. It feeds us because it feeds off of humanity. And the whole time, we're actually just sort of dying inside. I love Jesus' strategy for the church. And the strategy is simple. Stay unified always. Make how many efforts to keep the unity? Every single effort. Are you doing that with your life? Or are you taking more of the easy road? Are you really doing every single thing you can do to stay unified with people? Or instead, are you playing into the easy path of gossip and slander? Let's close with the verse that we saw at the very beginning. Live a life worthy of the calling he's graciously extended to you. Be humble, be gentle, be patient. Tolerate one another in an atmosphere thick with love. Make every effort to preserve the unity that's with a spirit already created, with peace binding you together. All right, so we're going to close with this. It is everything you want, that word, peace. Guys, can I remind you of something? Peace is one of the fruits of the Spirit listed out in Galatians. But here's the problem with the fruits of the Spirit. Sometimes we use it as a report card or a checklist to see how we're doing. Since when was it called the fruits of you? It's not called the fruits of you. It's called the fruits of the Spirit. So if you are Spirit-filled, if you are a Spirit-filled person, a person that has received Jesus Christ's grace and salvation is given the gift of the Spirit. So as a person who is infiltrated with the Spirit, you already have peace. You don't see New Testament people praying for things like patience. And we got such a warped view of God where we're afraid to pray for some of these things out of fear that he's going to hurt us. What kind of jacked up view of God is that? Since when did you feel like God was coming out to get you? Unless he's coming out to get you with a big, beautiful embrace. The peace that binds us together is who we are in Christ. To make every effort should be second nature as a Christian who understands their identity in Christ.